Yo, yo, listen. It's time, okay? You know what it's time for? It's time for me to do another off the script, okay? This is one of those chapters where there's so much content and my brain exploded with so much different information that I did not write a script, okay? So y'all might get a good 20 minutes about me. Y'all know what it's hitting for, but I'm gonna tell you right now, chapter was 9 out of 10. Fantastic. Not perfect, but fantastic. We got so much lore, we got so much to talk about, so let's get into it. But y'all already know, share this to any Todd spaces you know about, Facebook, Instagram, X, all that good stuff. Just share me out there. On the way to 2,000, almost there. Let's go, boys and girls. Oh, also, side note, sorry for the look. I just got home. I'm not changing my clothes. Let's go. Before I even dive into the chapter, I want to explain something that I found out during reading this chapter that I want everybody to realize on how CU is writing Gustang, and I find it to be absolutely a fantastic idea and format. So, if you guys didn't notice, when we got introduced to Dumas, right? Dumas is austerity, okay? Dumas is kind of the immovable object who doesn't run from a fight, doesn't run from attacks, takes the damage, and even when he makes a mistake, he has to correct it. You know what that represents? And I mentioned this before, actually, in the review before. That represents the younger Gustang, the Oakby, we'll call it Gustang. Oakby Gustang, who punished his friends for mistakes they made, held everybody accountable, recorded the facts as they were. That is austerity. That is young Gustang. Do you know what Michael is? Michael is perversity. Okay? So let me break this down a little bit for y'all. The way CU is writing this, we'll get to learn about every arc librarian and what they stand for, and then CU will tie that in into the past of Gustang. It is such a gas format, okay? Because perversity, right? If you've read the chapter, you understand that the definition of perversity could mean the act of doing something that's unreasonable or going against something that's morally good or going against your own morals. So, how that ties into Michael is we get an introduction to him, and then we get a flashback to see Gustang where he compromises his morals. For who? For Blossom. So, everything that we're learning about in this current flashback about Gustang is everything that built Michael into what he is. So take that information, guys, and realize that whatever other arc librarians we get, the only other one I think we know about is Proust. Um, we'll understand what Proust is and how that relates to Gustang. So Proust, to my knowledge, is the last arc librarian. He's the second strongest. I'm not sure who the first would be. If there was a first arc librarian, I don't think there is. But Dumas was third. I don't know what place Michael takes, but we know that Proust was the second strongest. So this may all end on Proust. Proust may represent the current Gustang, the Gustang that we are currently seeing. So how things ended up the way they are now, how we got to this place where Gustang's going to war against all his friends, Proust may explain all of that. Okay, not necessarily him, but y'all understand what I'm saying. We'll get the flashback to see how Gustang got here. It's a gas format, man. Like, I absolutely love it. I can't believe CU has like formatted it in a way where a lot of people complain for such a long time about Gustang's character and how he seemed dry, but to break it down in a way where we'll understand parts of himself, it's so good. I love it, man. This is the type of stuff I love about Tower of God, and what got me like into the series. But this is just so good, especially since I like Gustang so much. But I just wanted to break that down so you guys know going forward what to expect when we see these characters and how that ties in today's chapter. All right, so let's get into what we saw. The chapter starts off completely where none of us expected, with Hugo. I'm thinking that we got a POV change somewhere else, but we did get one, but it's not what we expected. So Hugo is on Michael's ship and walking past the guards. The guards are like, why is she here? And then she get reassigned or whatever, and she walks into Michael's room and starts attacking him. I don't know, y'all probably like me, like, why, like, is she like a traitor? Like, why is she attacking Michael? And she goes on to explain, like, she's attacking Michael because he attacked her soldiers. And I found her words to be very reminiscent to me of Bomb, like the naivety of it, because she was saying that she knows that she's going against her family head, but she has to attack him based off her own morals of him attacking her soldiers. And then she starts to say things like, "Oh, you're standing the honor of the family head. I don't know how you got your position." Da da da. And Michael goes to say like shut the up. Like what is it that you think you know about our family head? Like how are you going to tell me? In which we learn the perversity of our family head, what our family head's like. Like how dare like not insignificant, but you ignorant wench. Like why would that's what she was given. It reminded me of Bomb when he was talking to Traum and Gusting. Gusting like, why are you eliminating your family, Gusting? Like, why are you doing it? Bro, you don't know everything. Like, you don't. So, I don't know what Michael's ability is. We don't know, but I absolutely like it. Like, he told her to squirm, and she twisted on the ground, and apparently even her eyesight, and I'm guessing her hearing is a little bit twisted. Like, everything in her body basically twisted. And with this, guys, I'm starting to get another grasp on like Gustangs' power. Like, I wonder if Gustang truly did split his power, not in the way that Traum did, but split it into these beings that exist. Like, I wonder if them coming to him makes him stronger. I'm not. I know the zookeepers are gonna go crazy over there. Like, oh, you're saying that Gusting's nerfed and da da da. I'm not saying that, but seeing how like his ability works, and we know that Dumas is austerity. I wonder if those are like truly things that Gustang like separated from himself, and that he can take back. I don't know. I'm just thinking. I think it's viable. We can't act like we don't think that's a viable possibility. But so Michael goes to explain to Hugo, like, even after seeing it with your own eyes, like, where do you think these people in these ship came from? Like, they come from the place called the garbage dump. And this is the first time we've heard of the garbage dump. Or is it? And mind you, I love the way Michael speaks, okay? It's absolutely gas. He says that they are the worms that grew from the shit that the family leaders left. And so immediately my thoughts go to the red light district. Like, the only place that we know and so we know nothing of this garbage dump. We never heard of it. And so then it goes into a flashback. It says the family leader Blossom killed them all. And I will admit, I've always been very skeptical of this because this was mentioned in the blog post about this Blossom, like, basically murking a bunch of people thing. But it turns out it's true. That's one of the things that's actually true. So then we go to a flashback about the Blossom incident. Okay, the Blossom incident was mentioned in the blog post, and I've always been kind of skeptical of like blog post stuff and when people bring them up, but this one is true, and I can't deny it. And it turns out that Blossom murked an entire civilization of people, and so it's not an entire floor, as was mentioned before. Could it be that these people ruled the floor? It's possible, but it doesn't say that specifically, so I'm just going to say she murked a whole civilization of people, right? So these random people are in the office with Gusting. I don't know who they are, what they represent, but they're complaining to him like, look, this is over the line. I guess she's a family leader, but this is atrocious. Like, you're going to punish her, right? You're not going to let her go just because you're married to her, right? And to be fair, they're right. Because Gusting, stand on your morals, bro. Like, stand on your morals. Like, I get it's your wife, but like it's living with a killer. But it also depends on how you look at the thing that you did. Like, do you actually care about the thing that you did? It would be to me, right? It would be for us, right? Here's a good example. Your girlfriend or your fiance, like mine, she murks a bunch of animals that I don't care about. Like, she makes a bunch of farm animals. Well, I don't really care, and don't call Pete on me. But I wouldn't care. A part of you has to be bothered by it because it is an egregious act, even if it was an accident. But you're stuck in a weird place, right? They say some pretty interesting things here. They say that this is why a family leader's power needs to be controlled by a device. So what it sounds like is the people in the population have a problem with the I guess dictatory way that the family heads have power, or excuse me, let's not say dictatory, let's say more of a monopoly of power that they have, not just within their families themselves, but themselves. And so they want some type of device that can kind of, I guess, control it. The people want some type of things that, I guess, to hold them accountable for it, or of using it. And I understand the concept, especially when he says that she was going around bragging, acting like she was an administrator, and then she goes and murks a bunch of people. And the line about her like acting like a child is very, very interesting, which we'll learn more about it later on. But it's very, very interesting they would say something like that. And with the conversation, and then you see Gustang talking to himself, telling him to shut up. You're nothing but bugs in his head. Even though, like, you can tell in Gustang's face and the way he's taking this on, it bothers him. Like, because he's such a morally sound guy who stands on his morals, he's fumbling, he's folding. And so, they're steadily calling for family here, head shackles. But, this is interesting, man, because this is how it gets a little bit political. And I love the idea of it. So we stumble into Traum, right? Traum comes as a good friend, I will admit. Whether his intentions were good or bad, I'm going to really assume that they were bad. But he still came to talk to Gustang. Maybe a part of it was good. I don't know. Let's cut him some slack, right? But he knew that Gustang was going through a lot. And he's telling Gustang, like, look, I don't even know why you deal with these animals. Like, they're nothing to us. You should isolate yourself the way me and Zahard do. But Gustang's like, well, I need them because history has to be recorded and recorded accurately, and I need them to do so, despite what they may, say or demand. I'm telling him that he thinks it's impossible because it's just like based solely on facts, bro. Like, there's gonna be like so much stuff that you need to record and so much stuff that they'll need to know. I think it's an impossible task what you're trying to do. Instead of trying to relate to them, you should be trying to soar high with us. You're basically a guy like we are, and we do not need to be descending upon their level. Traum pretty much reads Gustang like a book. Like, you're conflicted, we know that you are, you got to do something. So he proposes to him that he could revive all the people that died. And I'm pretty sure all of us thought that this was an immediate bad idea. Like, there's no way that this is possible. It's not going to go the way we think it is, and like it's like we know Traum by now that to know that, yeah, bro got ulterior motives, right? But it's a plan, and Gustang's trying to right the wrongs of Blossom. If these people can be brought back to life, and it's not like the event can be forgotten, but it could bring some it could bring some ease to it all. So Gustang goes to explain a little bit how this worked, and we learned a little bit about how souls and manipulation kind of works as this arc and season has gone on. So basically, since they recently passed away, and it's kind of the same thing that Bomb has done when he revived Arya, their souls are still around, and basically Traum can bring them and try to stick them back into their bodies using his Shinwo Ryu. And that the people couldn't complain because, despite what's happened, your family and friends have been brought, or whoever, have been brought back to life, and they'll be new and powerful beings. So that's how Gustang justified them in his head, even though the other part of him says that normally I would not do something like this, but he basically was backed into a corner. Blossom apparently spent so much time in her dream world that her emotions were far taken, far gone from the rest of her friends. And again, with the emotions thing, man, I knew it. I love to see that we get to see different sides of how these people remove their emotions from each other. Like, with Traum, we know that his beast and Leviathan and them took parts of it. And now here with Blossom, she lost most of it being in the dream world most of the time. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Gustang notices that these people that are being brought back to life are being exchanged for animals. It's a grotesque scene of them struggling to maintain their forms and being changed and warped. And apparently Traum noticed it, and he knew it was wrong, but he didn't show any remorse. He didn't necessarily care. A part of him looks like it knew that it was going to happen, and he even says that it's a pity. And it's like, I don't know, did he try to apply a little bit of what he was doing and just like it just didn't work? Or like what's pitiful about it is it just like what's happening to the people? But he doesn't care. We know Traum's nature. And Gustang couldn't live with it. He says he tried to record it and write it down, and he just couldn't. He just couldn't bring himself to do it. Man, I, I love the complexity of Gustang's emotions, bro. Because how do you do this? You could be a fraud. You could absolutely be a fraud, but Gustang can't be a fraud, bro. He just can't bring himself to do it. And so we turn to my king, Zahard. And so we get one of the most interesting and important conversations to date in the series. So Gustang goes to Zahard, and Zahard says, Gustang, what are you doing here? You have been very, very reluctant to even look at my face. And Gustang gets right to it, like tells him, like, look, what happened to that plan that you had? The plan where you wanted to build an incinerator where you put a bunch of stuff in there. What is this stuff, guys? It's the stuff that the family heads didn't want. Anything that's troublesome. Bad guys, fanatics, people who went against the family heads. I imagine like people who stood on stuff like the Hidden Grove, early iterations of that. Like anything like mechanical species, like stuff that they did not like. They put it all in this place called the Red Dump. Okay, and Gustang adds to it saying, "I want to add more stuff to it, which is history." And that's all to preserve the perfect history of the family heads. It's quite amazing. It's truly an amazing thing. And mind you, I'm pretty sure y'all saw the art. Art was fantastic, especially when they talked about locking the Red Dump up. Because basically they put all these people and all these things into this space, which was considered or called the cracks of the tower. The cracks of the tower? The cracks of the tower. There are cracks within the tower. So why couldn't Arlen escape through one of these cracks that they all may have knew about? Man, like bro, like we getting more and more information about stuff that it's just so insane. Like just to think about cracks in the tower spaces that maybe administrators don't know about. Just nutty, right? But going back to the Red Dump. And so they locked it up. And the bracelet, we finally get to understand what the bracelet is. The bracelet is the key to the Red Dump. Now, before I continue with the rest of the chapter, the Red Dump. The Red Dump is the red light district, guys. They are the same thing. Okay? We had a discussion about it in the Discord, and they were exactly right, and I kind of had the same thoughts about it. The Red Dump and the red light district, same thing. It's just a POV. It's just a way of seeing it, right? Because to somebody like Karaka or Belier, who may have been raised in the Red Dump, it would be considered like the red light district to them. Like it's a place. It is an actual place. Like imagine, guys, there's a bunch of people and species and stuff dumped into this place, but they could have established like an entire city there. They could have built something for themselves, even if they're crazy things that the family heads didn't necessarily approve of. They are still beings and people in there, and they could have possibly built a society in there. So what it sounds like is they built a society, okay? And so the red light district and the Red Dump, same thing, all right? And then we ushered in a new era, the second era, where basically they scrapped all the, because they scrapped all the stories and all the crazy stuff that the family heads have done over time. So, as Gustang is, thinking about all of this, he finds a book where he wrote a little bit of stuff, I'm guessing, that talked about, the Red Dump and them escaping their sins. And he says, like, I don't know why I did it. Did I do it to, possibly come back to it later? Did I do it because I knew that Zahard would torment my daughter? Where we finally get to see how Gustang feels about ENNE. Oh my god, bro. Like how we waited for this. Like the first instance we got about this whole thing is when Traum and Gustang had that conversation like 50, 60 chapters back. And now we get to see how Gustang truly, truly feels about ENNE and this whole thing with Zahard. Yes, he's tormenting his daughter. That has got to be the first piece or a major key in why this is happening, okay? He says, the way he says it, Zahard would torment my daughter. Fam. Fam, 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 fam. Oh, Tower of God, man. I love this series so much, man. And so we get to see the interaction between Annie and Gustang, and oh my God, it's so good. It's so good, okay? First of all, Annie respects Gustang like a shit ton. Like no character we've seen, Annie absolutely admires her father, the way she talks about him, okay? The greatest intellect, the recorder of history, okay? That's what she calls him. She calls to confront Gustang about the dumpster, okay? Asking him that, telling him that she knows the truth. And Gustang, who likely, more than likely, removed his memories, does not know or remember what he's talking about. And do you know what that means? Because he says it at this chapter, at the end of the chapter, that ignorance has become his biggest punishment. Because he did not know about it, he could not advise any on it. And when he could not tell her to not dig into that, or to what it exactly is, or how for her to move about it, because they all removed their memories about it, guys. That is so crazy. Like, imagine that you actually know about something, but you don't actually know about something, and your daughter gets punished for it, and you could have saved her if you didn't, or if you stood on your morals from the beginning. That is fantastic writing. That is so good. Okay? And so, to me, and I'm pretty sure, guys, that's got to be Gustang's one motivation to dive deep into what Annie was talking about when she called. Okay, what is she talking about? He goes into that book that he saw where he wrote a little bit and stuff and started diving into it and diving into it and diving into it. And it may have taken thousands of years for him to get his memories back, guys. To get all the memories and stuff back, to prepare himself for this war. It may have took him thousands and thousands of years to do this. Think about it in that perspective. The way that Gustang has structured this entire thing now, like the plan to start a war and to get the key, and all of this stems from this. That is such it's kind of unfathomable. Like it's so good. And so that's pretty much the chapter, guys. Like there's plenty of other things to talk about, but I want to leave a lot of that open for discussion on Friday. Man, I chatted about all of this, dude. This is just fire. This is like, honestly, I gave this chapter a 9. I gotta give it a 10. I'm such a lore head, and the characterization of Gustang it's just been so masterful. I can't even begin to describe how happy I am to read something like this. Like, we've had so many questions about like bad chapters, or because we get it on a week-to-week basis. But this is probably one of the few chapters where you can literally answer so many questions. Where people say, "Oh, the Tower of Plots, plot, 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 plot." This chapter answers so many questions. Okay, it answers so many questions. By the way, I will say, since people, what did Zahard lock in the dumpster? I will answer that question. Maybe the Zahard clones aren't exactly the clones that we think they are. Maybe they aren't clones that were made through experimentation or sex or anything like that. Maybe they are kind of similar to Gustang's austerity and perversity. Zahard removed time periods of himself from himself, if I'm saying that specifically. And you know what? I made this theory, me and MS made a fun theory about this months ago, about what if the Zahard clones are just clones of Zahard that didn't turn out, because the original premise was Zahard was trying to create clones, but he only could create clones through periods of time. Not just one clone or like a son. That's what we were assuming, because since Zahard has no kids. No. The idea now is that Zahard had to remove different time periods in his life of himself, and just to get rid of them. So he couldn't just remove all of his emotions or history in one part of himself. He had to do it in pieces. So Karaka, the bosses, Wing Nam, they aren't necessarily clones. They are Zahard. They are the princes of Zahard because technically speaking, they would be younger versions of Zahard. They don't have to be his sons. You don't have to be a son to be a prince. You can still be a prince. If so, just like for example, if there's a king and a queen, and the king has a brother, the brother can be considered like a prince of the king, even if it's not his direct son. He could have been the previous king's prince. They don't lose that status, so they can absolutely be the princes of Zahard. I hope we get to see these 10 people in the next chapter. But guys, let me know what you guys are thinking, man. This was a lore dump, man. I've connected so many dots in the past 24 hours in Tower of God than I think I've had in years. Just too good. So y'all already know. Share this, like it. Friday, be in the stream. It's gonna be lit. We got so much to cover. I'm gonna have to make time for that day. Like I'm gonna have to literally make like a 3-hour stream for that day. It's gonna be so good, And I'm gonna have to reach out to Naya. We have to have a tower meeting. We have to have a meeting of the family heads pretty soon. This chapter, I gotta talk about it with other minds. Okay, so you guys, like, share, get in that Discord link below. See ya.